Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Welcome back, Cotter.
Hey, man, where is the barista? Oh, there's my coffee right
There's your coffee.
Right,
we got
there's my
some
coffee.
Got some muffins.
No, man, what a great morning. Always love jumping in the coffee shop, having coffee with you. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. You know, I heard somebody say just recently, you know, you're kind of right where you're supposed to be. I mean, and if you embrace that, which I do, we're right where we're supposed to be. I love having coffees with you. It's such a natural next step for me.
Yeah, you know, I was reminded recently at a meeting that I had to go through that to get to this.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think that ties in with I have to go through this to get to there.
Right.
And so I think I'm right where I'm supposed to be today,
Right.
especially at a coffee table with you, drinking like a double coffee.
People are driving in a car right now. They're like, "What the?
I know.
What are they saying? They're
What?
that, and then I go where, and I'm where I'm supposed to what?
Pronouns or what? I don't know.
I don't know. Great. So yeah, I'm glad to be here. Really glad to be here. Love. Hey, quick shout out to our website. You know, chock full of resources. You've got
What is our website there, Mike?
Yeah, it's Sober.Coffee. So www.sober.coffee. So where you want to.
So instead of putting .com, you put .coffee?
Yeah, you want to
Okay.
throw it, you know, people's brains want to throw a .com. It's .coffee. That's how cool
That's
we
really
are.
cool. I don't know any other website that's
That, my friend, is
that's
how cool.
.coffee.
Maybe Folgers.coffee.
No, they're not. They're
Really?
.com. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
.com. So
Old school.
All right, www.sober.coffee. All right,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, check it out.
Super cool, man. It's looking really sexy. Great colors, great content, great way to engage. Has all our podcast episodes up there.
Yeah, and throw your email address in there, and we'll drop you some pearls of.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Some pearls of information. Drop
And it's
your
all
email.
anonymous.
It's all anonymous. So,
Nobody's going to get your name out there because I know emails sometimes have last names.
right. But we're not going to share it.
No
we
way.
don't do
This
anything.
is-
We'll
we don't
just-
sell it to anybody. We
Nope.
don't give it to anybody. We don't want anybody to even peek at it.
We'll just punch out updates from the show.
There you go. All right, so we usually come up, with coffee. We usually, have some idea of what we're going to talk about. So what's our topic today, Mikey?
Winning the lotto.
All right, that's going to be a 2-minute podcast because I have no experience in that. I don't
Buddy,
think
I'm
you do
only
either.
6 numbers away. That's all.
That's it?
I'm only 6 numbers away.
So let me guess,
Got
it's a
this thing.
7-number lotto.
I've got this thing figured out.
All right, I love it. No, you know what? I thought we'd sit down and chat through, a topic today called freedom. And, I know immediately as soon as I throw a topic out, songs start to come to your head. And the only one that comes to my head is Philadelphia Freedom.
Oh, little Elton John there.
Little Elton John, Philadelphia. And I was born, I was a Philadelphia guy.
Yeah.
So that kind of hits home. But
Springsteen's got a good take on Philadelphia from the movie. Great movie.
Oh, that was a great movie.
Yeah.
So is that like the key song for freedom?
Yeah, that's it. I would go with Philadelphia Freedom.
Yeah.
Elton John.
I
You want to sing it?
For freedom. No, I really don't. I don't have a voice for radio. I don't have a face for radio. I don't have a singing voice for any medium.
All right. Let's get down to the business of helping people stay sober.
Yeah. So freedom. I did. Well, I didn't really Google it. But I kind of got some input. On the definition of freedom, right? The first thing when I hear the word freedom, I hear, the first thing I think about is I was a slave, right? So I was a slave to addiction. I was a slave to alcohol. Alcohol owned me. So, I did a little bit of research, and to quote unquote, freedom is the power to determine action without restraint or personal liability, as opposed to, being in bondage or slavery, right? Mm-hmm. So I can act and live in a way, personal liberty, So when I think of freedom in drinking, I really look at sobriety, right? So for me, sobriety equals freedom, from alcoholism. And I really believe that freedom is a foundation for living. So it's hard to live freely when you're addicted to alcohol. When alcohol owned me, it owned everything I thought and everything I did. I didn't have many options outside of feeding that addiction to alcohol. Everything I did, everything I planned in my life was planned around, will I be sober enough to go? Will I be sober enough to attend? Will I be sober? And if I was sober enough to go, then I was a slave to, okay, when am I going to drink beforehand? Am I going to have alcohol there? How soon after the event can I drink, right? So everything I did in my life was calculated around drinking. And I view that as being a slave, being chained to alcohol.
Yeah, I love the way you spin it. So I got a notepad here, and I just wrote down slave, right? Is the opposite of being free.
Right.
Right? You're a slave to something.
Yep.
And then, so my experience was, and I love the way you said it, it owned me. I was a slave to it. I did whatever it told me to do, which was very simple. Have another.
More.
Just have another. Have more, right? Then now I have this freedom, which we're going to talk about. And the only thing in between slave and freedom is surrender for me. That's what naturally came out. So what took me from being a slave to being free from things, and I love the way you said that, free from, and I just jotted down, self-destruction, nasty self-talk, covering out my lies. These are things I'm free of now that used to consume me. The byproduct of the consumption consumed my time and effort and I was mentally exhausted by the end of the days back then but now I'm free from that. And so what I love, I just heard somebody tell me, okay, I'm free from that. What do you do with that freedom, right? What do you do with that? What do you fill that hole with?
Right. So I believe that freedom fuels peace. I really believe that when I define peace as being a point of time in life where I feel everything is as it should be. It's just, it's good, right? Mm-hmm. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm, just where everything and in my life today, throughout my week, I get snippets of peace. Mm-hmm. And I describe my life as a Ferris wheel. Sometimes I'm up, sometimes I'm down, sometimes, God, I hate the middle, right? Where I'm in the middle of that Ferris wheel, where I'm neither up or down. But there's times when I'm on that Ferris wheel where I feel like I'm right where I'm supposed to be and everything is good. And I define that as peace, right? And it's a great feeling. But I think freedom fuels that peace. Because if I'm a slave to something, whether it be alcohol, whether it be work, whether it be fear, right? If I'm being a slave or controlled by something else, I can't have peace.
Right.
So I think but here's one of the things, and I just want to underline this because this really hit me. One of the biggest lies in my life of 58 years, one of the biggest lies that I was told and I believed was that alcohol is freeing. And early on, and as a culture, as a society, I think all of the commercials.
Oh, I was going to say, I see it in a commercial.
Stressful
I can't define
week,
it, but yes.
have a beer.
That's right.
Release the stress and chaos and whatever you're going through. Hey, let's meet for happy hour. It's 5:00. Let's go have a beer.
Right.
Tough day. Hey, let's go have a beer. Right? Hey, tough trip. You're stuck at the airport. You're all cranky. Hey, that's okay. Have a cocktail. Right? So I think one of the biggest lies I have heard in my life, and I've told myself is that alcohol is freeing. Now, I use the word freeing because for many years I used alcohol as an escape, right? So, hey, had a tough day, let's have a beer, right? That graduated into I hate my life, I hate myself, I have fear, shame, guilt, remorse, self-loathing, all those sexy words, right? And now I don't just need to, be free from that. I need to escape. I need to obliterate that. And then that's where the big bottles came in, and I use big bottles to escape. Biggest lie.
But don't some people are wired to have a little glass of wine after dinner, and that's going to help them get to sleep at night.
So I believe those folks, because there are folks out there like that, and at times I'm jealous of them.
I know, right?
Fully transparent, I'm jealous of them. But I really believe that that a lot of the other areas in their life are okay, or they have the tools to manage the other areas of their life, right? So that one drink, hey, it's
not going to take the wheels off the car.
No, it edges the sharpness of the day,
right?
But to me, I didn't have those other tools, so I had to erase the day. I didn't have the tools to manage the chaos in my life. I had to escape from it. So that's where the biggest lie for me, because I didn't have those other tools. Dude, I watch people, go out there and they have a tough day. They go out and they have, this is like the ninth wonder of the world. They go out and have 1 1/2 beers. And they leave half a beer on the bar and they go home and they tackle the rest of their life. They get back into what they're supposed to be doing, and they get a reprieve. They get a little freedom for that snippet of time when they're having a beer, and they go back and with their tools and they handle their life. I didn't have tools. I hated my life that I was in, so I obliterated my life and I escaped. So I couldn't leave 1 1/2, and I couldn't leave 2 or 4 or 10. I just kept drinking.
Sure, and I think most of the people in the coffee shop with us today are wired that way, and that's the way we are. That's why we're here, producing Sober.Coffee and listening to Sober.Coffee, because I go back, I learn as much from these coffee sessions as the next guy. I love what you said about. I love what you say about direct. There's a direct line between freedom and peace. I draw a direct line between freedom and this newfound full opportunity. I have this opportunity now that I never had before. And even if let's say I was wired to be able to have a beer or two, right? When I go take on life, they don't have 100% of me, because the alcohol is going to take some percent of that away, right? It's going to take some percent of my full potential. That's why guys don't drink before they play baseball or football or hockey or golf, Now,
right.
Some do.
It takes you off your game.
It takes you off your game. That's exactly my point. My point is that I got full game now. I've got full opportunity. I take advantage of full adventures, and I get full growth opportunities and challenges. I get challenges, and they're full as well, but they're growth challenges. It hurts a little bit, but I'm growing, but to my full capacity.
Right. So the AA Big Book references freedom quite a number of times. Right. But the way I look at it is, and the steps of AA really help you become free from the wreckage of your past. Right. It helps you steps 4 and 5, steps 6, 7, 8, 9. We've talked about it. That is a bulldozer to do demolition on all the crap from your past, right? Things that weighed you down, things that kept you captive, right? And in the throes of your drinking, and not just physically drinking or physically relapsing, but the mental part of it, right? The mental weight that you carried around. And I really believe that working the steps of AA for me, it allowed me a lot of freedom from that past, but then it gave me the freedom to plan my day today and to operate my day today freer than I ever have before, right? When I step in shit today, and I do step in shit, I recognize, I'm aware I step in the crap, and I'm like, you know what? I am going to fix that now. So what that does is that prevents that little weights of being put on, right? And it helps me live mentally freer. So it's not like I'm taking a drink today, right? But if I don't watch and am aware of the emotional weight that I put on by how I'm living, I'm going to get right back to where I was. Now, frankly, I had 50 years of that weight, right? And the way I live today, you know, instead of 50,000 pounds of weight, I mean, I carry 5. But I'm very aware of those 5 pounds. And when I know it gets to 8 or 10 pounds, that's when I need to call my sponsor, right? That means I might need to pick up the phone and talk to another guy in the program and say, hey, man, here's kind of stuff I'm going on. And, you know, I'm just aware. And I'm able to live freer today. And going back to what I said before, for me, freedom fuels peace.
Is freedom free?
Freedom is free. It takes work, though. So
there is sacrifice.
There's sacrifice, but there's not a monetary cost. So when the minute you use the word, you know, is freedom free, I think of a monetary cost, right? And, you know, it costs $1 to go to an AA meeting. I spend a lot of dollars, you know, going to AA meetings, you know, but for the price and of what I have today, the value is priceless for those couple dollars. Now, I think back to Laguna Beach in 2003, right? And this for me is a great mental thing. You know, for us out in California, when you went to rehab in California, you had to get a tattoo.
Did you get one?
I did.
Oh, beautiful.
So, you know, everybody got their tattoo and they're all proud, right? They get them right in the middle of their chest or, you know, on their bicep or something, right? And so I, you know, being a business guy or whatever, right, I didn't want to be that bold. So I was going to get on my hip, you know, under my bathing suit, you know, a chain, thinking of chain of alcoholism, you know, slavery, being a slave to alcoholism. I was going to get a broken chain tattooed on my right hip. Instead, I got a tattoo on my back right shoulder, and I got the word freedom tattooed on my shoulder. Because I wanted to become free from the slavery of alcoholism. Now, I didn't have the guts to put it in English, so it's actually written in Sanskrit, right? So a lot of people, you know, sit there and say, hey, what does that mean on your shoulder? And I'm like, well, if I wanted you to know, I would have put it in English, right? But, and, you know, I was getting a massage one time, and this masseuse says to me, she goes, why do you have the word freedom tattooed on your back right shoulder? And I'm like, well, because I was a slave to alcohol, and today I'm not, you know? And so freedom's a very key word for me, you know, but I especially love that, you know, in my mind, freedom really fuels peace.
Give me 3 steps. Give me 3 steps to take away from this coffee to get me closer to the freedom that is your peace.
All right, so you're putting me on the spot, so I wasn't prepared for that. So
but I mean, just practical.
Here's a word. Here's a word that, and I'm kind of, you know, I got the mental gymnastics going on in my head. The number one word.
Yeah.
And this makes no sense, but I'm going to say it. It makes no sense. The number one word that comes to mind is surrender.
Okay, beautiful.
But it doesn't make sense because you think of surrender in a war type of environment. Right. And surrender means you're waving a white flag and you're going to somebody else's jail. Right? That's what I picture. In this context, I really, for me, my experience, and I know for you, because I know your story very well, when we surrendered, we started the about face towards freedom.
Got it.
So for me, the number one thing was surrender. And then number 2 through 2000 after that is do what the program tells you to do what other people tell you to do what your sponsor tells you to do.
So the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, follow the program. It'll get you closer to that freedom that we aspire to have. That's what you're saying?
Right. And there's a couple phrases in the program that I have come to believe are true. One is, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not are those who cannot or will not be completely honest with themselves. And then I look at the promises. When they outline the promises is if you follow the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, the 12 steps, and you really work them and live them, the 9th step promises is before you're halfway through your 9th step, you'll be amazed at the progress that you're making. You'll find a new freedom and a new happiness. They use the word freedom.
Yeah, right.
And you will find peace. And what they say at the end of the promises, because I really believe the words in the AA Big Book and the promises and how it works, it says, they will always materialize. Always materialize. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. And for me, I had to learn that sometimes slowly, and I hate slow. Slow is painful for me. But I've learned to sit in my stew. I've learned to sit, and I've learned to be patient because I believe and I have faith that this shit works. But they will always materialize, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, if you work for that.
I love it. Surrender, faith, patience. Thank you, man. This has been good.
Love it, man. Let's be free. Let's live free.
Philadelphia freedom. Oh, take me out, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@Sober.Coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.